So today I'll be talking about how to fulfill your potential as a footballer. So as we know in football, there's a lot of players who did not fulfill their potential. They showed a lot of promise at a young age, but then they end up sort of just not fulfilling their potential, just not working out. This can be for multiple reasons. Your guys like Quaresma, Deli Ali. There's so many guys who people thought they were going to be superstars. People thought they were going to be the guys, but ultimately they just didn't work out. And other players that were considered worse than them, they were the ones that ended up reaching the top of the game. Because I remember there was a time where people thought Quaresma was better than Cristiano Ronaldo, like back in the day. Obviously, that was before my time, but I've heard, obviously, you've heard the stories about how Quaresma used to be better than Ronaldo for like the Portugal youth teams in the academies and all of that. So literally, there's certain guys who just don't fulfill their potential. So as a young player, your full potential could literally be 5 years away, 10 years away, 15 years away. So you can't really look that far into the future. You just sort of have to take it day by day. And in order to reach your potential, it's just a case of you just have to take every day like a daily grind. You just have to get used to, some days will be exciting, but mostly it's just the mundane, the boring things. It's just certain little things. It's doing that 20-minute stretching routine after you've had training, even though you don't want to, even though you're knackered, even though you're so tired, but it's doing that 20-minute stretching routine that you promised yourself that you would do. It's them times, maybe it's after a game where you're absolutely tired and you just want to have a pizza or you want to have McDonald's, but it's them times where you tell yourself, no, I'm gonna eat clean. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna eat any junk food. I'm just gonna eat clean. It's just these little decisions that they don't seem big at the time, but trust me, once they compound over time, trust me, you'll see who's been putting in the work. You see who's and who's been slacking. It's them days where you get up, you don't really wanna train, you don't really wanna go out, but instead of you saying, "Oh, I'm gonna lie in bed, I'm just gonna take a rest day," it's that day where you say, "Nah, I'm just gonna go for an hour." You go for an hour, you see how you feel. At first, you're like, "Oh, I don't really want to be here," but then you get warmed up. You stretch out, you start passing the ball against the wall, start warming up, doing some technical stuff. Maybe get into the first drill, and after the first drill, you look around and you're like, "I feel all right. Like I'm actually glad I came." It's them sort of moments that sort of separates the average players from the best players, or those players who don't make it to the players who make it. So in order to fulfill your potential, in my opinion, you just have to have this one mindset. First of all, you just have to think about what type of player you want to be in the future. At least you just think about yourself. Try picture an image of your perfect player. Like no matter what position you play, just think of you at your absolute peak. If you actually put in the work and you actually did everything right, you at your peak. Maybe you're like 26 years old when you hit your peak. Think of you at like 26 years old. Think about the mental image. Think about that 26-year-old you. Think about his preparation. Think about his mental preparation, his physical preparation for games, his daily routine. What's his diet like? How does he train? What decisions does he make? How disciplined is he? What shape slash conditioning is he in? How what's his technical level at? Where's his technical level at? Just think about all these things, and then anytime you're making a decision, just think to yourself, all right, cool. What would 26-year-old me want me to do in this situation? Anytime you come to a decision where you have to decide between two things, just think to yourself, yo, what would 26-year-old me, what would me at the prime of my career, what would he do in this situation? And then just take it from there. In my opinion, you have to sort of have the foresight. You sort of have to be able to look 10 years into the future, 15 years into the future, and be like, all right, cool. What would me in the future want? I might be 15 years old now, but what would 26-year-old me want? What would the prime version of me want me to do? Would he want me to lie in bed, be lazy and not go train today, or would he want me to get up, tell myself to stop being a lazy prick, and then go out to train? Or in that situation where you're feeling like, oh, I just wanna have a pizza, I just wanna have some McDonald's, some KFC, what would he say? Or would he say, "Yo, it's cool, have that KFC"? Or would 26-year-old you say, "Yo, eat clean, it doesn't matter, just eat clean, trust me, it's going to pay off in the future"? So you always just have to, in my opinion, that's sort of the best way to make good decisions in general and to actually fulfill your potential. Because a lot of the time it's not actually the actions that you do, but it's sort of the actions you avoid. It's sort of the pitfalls, the roadblocks that you avoid. Because everyone can train hard. When you get to the pros, I feel like everyone trains hard, or majority of players train hard, but it's more what you can avoid. How are you setting up your life in a way to nothing can sort of take you off that path? Because a lot of the times More time when someone doesn't, fulfill their potential, you always hear. You might not know it at the time, but you always hear years later that there was something, that there was something sort of just holding them back. It was not because they didn't do enough, but it's because something bad was happening to them. Obviously, you got the main example like Dele Alli came out and said, he was suffering from mental health. Now, maybe there was nothing Dele Alli could do about it. Maybe there was something he could have done about it. I don't know personally, but you know what I mean. It's always like a roadblock. It's always roadblocks, pitfalls that you sort of have to avoid on the way to becoming a top player. So yeah, in my opinion, the best way to fulfill your potential is literally just to think of the prime version of yourself, that 25, 26-year-old version of you, and just be like, okay, what would he do in this moment? What decision would he make in that moment? And I feel like that's sort of just like a bulletproof way to make good decisions and sort of avoid all them pitfalls that could sort of potentially derail you from your football career. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, football is a young man's game. It's a short career, so you have to mature quickly. You have to align yourself to the prime version of yourself, even if it's like a decade away. Even if you might think, oh, it's 10 years away, it doesn't really matter. But if you really want to make it, it's about dedicating your life to it. It could be 5 years away, 10 years away, even 15 years away. But it's like, yo, you just have to sort of just align yourself with a pro. You have to move like a pro before you even get to the pros. You understand? Because the thing is, if you move like a pro even before make it to that level, once you actually get to that level, it's not really a shock to the system. Everything they do, you've been doing it yourself. All the having to do all the stretch, the extra mobility work, the extra stretching, the extra recovery, the extra training sessions in preseason. You're used to that anyway because you've been doing that in your own time. But if you haven't been doing that in your own time, and you potentially make it to the pro level, even if you do make it to the pros, but you haven't been doing those things, it's going to be such a shock to the system. You're going to be like, damn, like I've never done this before. And obviously from there, you're playing extreme catch up, which may even lead you to you're not playing games, you're not impressing the coach. Maybe you have to go out loan 4, 5, 6, or 7 times, and it's just long. So in my opinion, just align yourself to your prime version. Just move like a professional, even when you haven't been a professional. And to be fair, it's hard because you have to move like a professional, but you don't get the benefits of a professional. That's the hardest bit in my opinion. Because with professionals, it's like, all right, cool. I'll do this extra recovery work because I'm getting 200K a week. That's easy to do, you know what I'm saying? The motivation's there. You got the money there already. It's like, cool. For 200K a week, all I need to do is just do this recovery work, do this extra bike work, go out for this extra training session, make sure I'm on time. It's easy when you have the benefits of being a pro, but when you don't have the benefits and you're sort of on the rise, it's hard because you're doing all the work, but you're not getting any benefits. You're having to wait for the benefits, maybe in a year, 2 years, 3 years, or whenever you make it. So it's tough, but you just have to keep going, sort of keep believing, just keep trusting the process, basically. So the last thing I would suggest you to do to stay consistent is to track your progress. Now, in my opinion, whether you track it on your phone, whether you get like a calendar and you sort of mark off the dates, the classic, get the calendar and then put an X after every single day once you've completed a specific task. In my opinion, you should do that because it's literally just a case of on the days where you're not motivated, when you look up on that calendar, whether it's a physical calendar or it's on your phone, on the days you're not motivated, when you see a streak of like, okay, I've done this 10 days in a row, 20 days in a row, 30 days in a row, I've done this 55 days in a row. Once you see that, you're not really gonna want to break the streak. You're gonna tell yourself, oh, come on, all I need to do is just show up, basically. That's all consistency is. Just show up. You say to yourself, all right, cool, as long as I just show up and do some work, even if it's a reduced training session, even if it's a reduced gym session, if I just show up there, I get to mark it off in my calendar or on your phone. In my opinion, because progress is the greatest motivator. When people actually see progress, when people see consistent progress, that's when they sort of get they sort of get a renewed energy. They sort of get a buzz. So in my opinion, literally to stay on the days where you're not motivated, the best thing to do is track your progress. I remember even me, for example, I used to go to the gym group. I used to go to the gym. And there was one day where I was just like, oh, I do not want to go to the gym today. Like, I can't be asked. But then I looked at my phone and I'd gone for like, it had been over a month straight. It'd probably been like 30 to 40 days in a row. Let's just say 35 days in a row. It'd been like 35 days in a row. I really didn't want to go, but I just told myself, oh, bro, I don't want to break this streak. Like, let's just go. Let's just, get a workout in. I told myself, even if it's for like 20 minutes, at least you showed up. At least you get to, mark it off. Then that 20 minutes turned into half an hour. The half an hour turned into 45 minutes. The 45 minutes turned into an hour, and I ended up being there for like an hour, 20 minutes. Got a good workout in, and by the end of the workout, I was actually like, "Yo, I'm actually happy I came. Like, I feel better. I feel way better than I was just sitting in the house all day, just being a lazy bastard." So in my opinion, that's the last thing about consistency. Track your progress, because once you actually see how consistent you've been, it's like, all right, cool. You actually, and sort of your self-image as well. You sort of look at that, sort of look at the calendar, sort of look at the tracker, and you think, all right, cool. Actually, I'm a consistent guy. Like, look, I went 10 days in a row, 20 days, however many days it's been. You start looking at yourself as a consistent guy, as a person who's like, all right, cool. I train consistently all the time. You know, I take care of my body. I go to the gym. I go to the gym most days. You start looking at yourself as like, yo, I'm actually a consistent footballer. You know, like I do everything I need to do. If I keep doing this, yo, then eventually the progress is gonna pay off, and I'm gonna achieve my goals. Whatever my goals are in football, I'm gonna achieve them eventually. So that's what I'm saying. Tracking your progress, it just gives you that sort of extra boost, extra energy, and extra motivation, especially on the days where you need it the most. So yeah, make sure you track your progress. But that's all I got to say for this vid. I hope you enjoyed. I'm with JT, and I'm out.